In this episode of the RV Small Talk podcast, we wonder how you can keep tabs on your RV's temperature and power and so many other things when you're not actually at your RV. Is there a way to do that?
Whisper.
RV. Would you pronounce the silent H? Whisper.
Cool whip.
Cool whip.
The answer is yes, there is.
Welcome to the RV Small Talk podcast, and we are your hosts from the wilds of Princess Craft RV in Round Rock, Texas. I am Clint.
I'm Lindsay.
And I'm PJ. Thanks so much for joining us today.
In this podcast, you're going to find us talking about different RV aspects like your small camper, your truck camper, the components, or better yet, sometimes we talk about the people, places, and adventures that go along with those RVs. So thanks again for joining us.
If you are interested in links or pictures of anything that we are talking about in this or other episodes, you can always find our show notes at rvsmalltalk.com. You can also follow us on social media. We love to see pictures of your travels, any questions you might have, or comments on our podcast at RV Small Talk Community on Facebook.
Or you can just send us a question or a thought or a comment to questions@rvsmalltalk.com. But let's get all that out of the way. Let's jump into this episode. Do you find it strange that we are actually all sitting at the same table recording the same podcast right now?
It is weird. You know, it's even weirder. We're all sitting on the same side of the table.
That's
so it's
odd.
like I have to turn my head a lot to see you guys.
It's weird sitting kind of in like panel formation, and we're not a panel.
Panel formation.
Form now. I don't know.
What?
I just need to cheer. Water.
Wind.
Fire.
Heart.
Captain Planet. He's
our
a hero.
hero.
Gonna take pollution down to zero.
That didn't work. I digress. Welcome back, everybody, because we've all been gone and we're all leaving again.
It's true. Well, it's summertime. It's time for us to like go do the things.
Well, that's when the things are happening,
Right?
and we get invitations, and we send Lindsay to represent us. How'd that go?
Oh, it went.
Did you represent us well?
I did.
Are we going to be proud?
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure if anybody got video of it, but I emceed the costume contest.
Uh-huh.
So we're talking about Tabarado, by the way.
Yes.
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
say that, but this is Tabarado. Last week.
Tabarado.
Uh-huh.
So I got to do the Hawaiian themed costume contest, which was great fun. I got to record the last podcast we put out about pee pee poo poo and periods.
Can we talk about how editing that went on my end? Never mind. Let's
Can we post the
we
picture
talk
of you
about how-
editing it with your face covered in your hands?
That is on my Facebook page if anybody needs to know
How funny.
or see it.
Oh man, I was in a constant state of cringe. Like I needed like
It wasn't that
tranquilize-
bad.
It wasn't.
It wasn't,
I
you
will
know.
I will over and over again say I really feel like it's useful to have that kind of content out there, whether it be us or someone else. It doesn't matter. I think it's really good content. It's just not what you hear daily.
And even the people I talked to, it was crazy because half of them were like, oh yeah, we've never heard this information before. And oh my gosh, you can do that? Whoa, how cool. And
Right.
it was so mind blowing. It's like, why don't we talk about this? Anyway, you can go check it out. But yeah, Tabarado was a lot of fun. I haven't been to Colorado in a long time, so the elevation kind of did a number on
Did
me.
you get a nosebleed?
You know, 0 nosebleeds.
Whoa, because
Wow, that's
nosebleeds
what I
are
was
like your
worried
thing.
about.
I know, me
Yeah.
too. It felt like it was going to bleed the entire time, but it never did, not even once.
But you got the nausea and
A headache.
the perpetual
Really?
throw-ups.
Really?
Dude,
for days.
Do you see the broken blood vessels in my eyelids?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I got real sick.
Wow.
Anyway, let's not talk about that. It was gross.
Maybe
Yeah.
you're more of a beach type person.
Or maybe it wasn't the elevation and maybe I just got a bug or something.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm not
And-
trying to make sense of this.
Yeah, and then there was a mudslide, and so then they closed the highway, so you had to take the long way to get back
I
to
thought
the
I was
airport.
going to die. That's a story
Really?
for another day.
That
Do we-
explains why you didn't answer whenever we called to check on you.
Yeah, I was out of service for probably like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And 3 of those hours, I was on top of a mountain, and on the right side of me, there was no guardrail. And the road is like this skinny, and it's pouring down rain.
So much fun.
And I've never driven on a road like this before. So I'm like, this is so beautiful. This is
the road.
I can't even look. Like, I know it's really pretty, but I can't even look. And then everything just stopped. And I sat in the same spot for about 2 hours, not moving an inch.
Yeah.
On the side of a mountain.
They had to clear the road ahead of you.
2 hours.
Yes. And everybody from I-70 had to go the other direction. So there was a lot of people. But you want to know the best part?
What?
You weren't towing a trailer.
I wasn't. I know. And then I just kept thinking about all the other people towing a trailer. It made me nervous. But I saw pictures of I-70. It's still closed. It's bad. Like they said, Colorado's about to declare a national disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
A mudslide just covered I-70.
Once you start talking about the few ways in and out of certain places of Colorado, there really are just a few.
Oh God,
they can be treacherous.
It was horrible, but I got some cool pictures out my car window, and I learned to circular breathe, and I took a lot of selfies. It's just, I mean.
Well, the first thing you said when I finally got in touch with you was, hey, guess what? I can do hard things. And I was like, of course you can.
I cried when the traffic started moving and we started going down and winding back down. I was just like, I'm not going to die. I'm not used to this kind of stuff. I didn't know this was normal.
And you were at 12,000 feet. I mean, that's high.
And maybe delirious.
That's God, so sleep deprived, nauseous. My head is pounding.
Well,
there is not much oxygen up there at 12,000.
It's storming.
For all of your effort and being tired and go.
You got a pee podcast.
No. I got, that was my reward, obviously. But did someone give you a cookie?
Dude, I got so many cookies.
Like the whole
Maybe that's why I was throwing up.
Well, was Tabarado fun? I mean, was it cool?
It was so fun. The people there were just so into it and so happy to be there. It just makes everything great. The weather, it rained. It stormed almost every night, but only for like a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. It got a little hot during the day, but I'm from Texas, so I was just like, this is great.
Right.
And then like in the morning and the evenings and that cool breeze, the weather was nice. The events were awesome. Everybody was showing up to everything. They had an Omnia cook-off.
Okay, so that's a cooking device that Mandy and Kendrick really, really love.
It's
right?
like it acts as an oven that you use on your stove.
I want one.
It's amazing. And
you want everything, Clint.
No, the stuff that they could cook.
I do.
They had like flaky apple turnovers, and then they cooked like lamb chops, and then they cooked like anything you could possibly think of. I was like, oh my God, how did you cook that on a stove? That's impossible.
And an Omnia.
Yeah. Amy made her famous lemon blueberry like cupcake muffins, and they're like perfect. They don't burn on nothing burns on the bottom.
Wait. I sometimes like a little bit of burnt crust.
Then the Omnia is not for you, my friend. Anyway,
I'll think about it. It
was really, really fun. Palisade is an adorable little Colorado town that I wish I could have explored more, but
you have a trailer.
They gave Fredericksburg a run for their money with their peaches, because that's what they're famous for.
Really?
And I had
high altitude peaches.
It's peach season, which means it's bear season. We had some bears visiting the campground, a mama bear and her 3 babies.
Wow.
I know I didn't get to see them, but I saw lots of pictures and other people got to see them. But it's in the middle of a peach orchard, and so I had a lot of Palisade peaches. And
does it smell amazing there?
Oh my God. Well, it's next to a peach farm and a distillery. So it's
peach schnapps.
It smells like peach weed all the time. It's quite amazing. I actually really enjoy it. But yeah, Palisade peaches, just as good as Fredericksburg peaches. Come get me, Texans.
Would you say that there's any difference in the flavor? They're both excellent, but this one has a different.
I don't. It's been. I mean, if I ate them side by side, maybe, but like. I was like, whatever, this peach isn't even going to be that good. I'm from Texas.
Hey, what's the...
and I ate it.
What's the altitude there? Do you recall?
Right at 5,000 or like a little bit less than 5,000.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just getting there. That's hard.
Yeah, you have to go over some pretty high areas.
Yeah, you go up before you get to the
Several
under
times.
5,000.
Yeah.
So driving back from Palisade to Denver took me 8 hours and 14 minutes in the car.
Phew. You would have, I mean, that's almost like going from here to El Paso.
And then I get to my hotel room and the guy was like, hey, I'm so tired and delirious and like after this drive. And the guy's like, looks like you made a reservation for next month.
Oh,
and I was like, yeah. I was definitely like really sick and vomiting when I made this reservation. So I guess So I had to drive around to like 3 other hotels.
Oh, they didn't have a.
Oh no, the person in front of me got the last room.
Oh, of course.
And then the wheel fell off of my suitcase as I was wheeling it back to my car, all sad and mopey like.
Wow, insult to injury.
Yeah,
this is movie material
super
here.
fun.
Hey, did you have a toothbrush when you arrived?
No, but
Lindsay.
my keyword gave me one. He brought me a little pack with a toothbrush and toothpaste, and
y'all all send Lindsay a toothbrush. Maybe if she puts a spare one in every single pocket, she can get to go camping.
No, she's going to be organized and she's going to put them all in one place and forget where that place is.
That's very true. But you know what? I don't even care because
So Mike brought you everything?
Yeah, it's like a little case with like a toothbrush and a little thing of toothpaste, and it has like a toothbrush cover.
Did he do this all on his own? Like he came?
Yeah, he knocked on my door every morning of my little cabin that kind of felt like a prison cell because it was just like an empty room with a bunk bed.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
That's what we signed you
and
up
I spent
for.
a lot of time in there. But he knocked on my door every morning with tea. And then the first day I told him it was too strong. So then the second day he made it better for me.
Wow. You looked a gift horse in the mouth?
And you thought I was the princess.
He asked me how it was, and I said it was a little strong. And so then he just made it weaker.
Amazing.
And he brought me a toothbrush, and he brought me a blanket and pillow. Nope, blankets. Mandy's mom brought me pillow and more blankets because they don't provide that stuff.
Yeah.
And Mandy's mom brought me more trash bags when I used mine.
Were you practicing some of the content of your podcast?
No, I was being sick in the trash can.
Oh, well,
and then I didn't.
That's a whole nother podcast.
I know, that's why I didn't want to. Yeah, so many people were giving me cookies. People gave me food
Give the
all
sick
weekend.
person cookies.
Well,
she takes them.
Yeah, I thought I was going to make a list at one point of like all the things that people had given me. Oh, yes, somebody gave me a seltzer water when I was sick.
Man, you need to like start writing your thank you notes.
I know. I was like, man, this trip would not be possible without, and then like have a whole list because I couldn't have.
Well, you're back, and then right as you're on your last lap up there at high altitude, PJ, you and Richard head out with your Terra to Bastrop.
We went camping right down the road, and it was awesome. So Richard went ahead of me, and when I got there, I was like,
"You just roll up and is ready."
I just rolled up. He was all there, parked. He was sitting inside, having a drink, reading a book, and I looked over and I said, "All right, sweetie, this is the weirdest parking space ever." Because he's kind of wonky and halfway sideways, almost parallel to the road, but not really. And it overhangs this little concrete pad with a picnic table on it. And I said,
"Was it a tent site?"
Well, of course it was.
Oh.
And he said, well, it said it would fit a 22-foot trailer. I said, well, first of all, you have a 26-foot trailer. He was like, yeah, but I thought we could make it fit.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I bet it isn't a 22-foot trailer site.
Yeah.
It is a tent site. Clearly, it's a tent site.
Yeah. And honestly, anytime I see like this is a 22-foot site, I always err on the side of...
Yeah,
like,
it's
maybe
probably 15. Yeah, but he said, nope. I was going camping and I just turned it sideways and jackknifed it right in here. And he did.
Cool.
It was crazy. So that was fun camping there. And it was really fun because I did the math. Do you realize it's exactly 10 years since the Bastrop fire.
Oh, and you know
And-
what? You
Wow.
can still tell.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody across
Absolutely.
the country saw the fire in Bastrop that went for weeks.
Yeah.
And it burns so much of Bastrop State Park, and you can see where it stops and then starts again.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything's all burnt, and you can see places where there's a whole bunch of like 4-foot tall pine trees.
Uh-huh.
And then these big black shoots coming out the top.
Right.
Anyway,
It seems a little dangerous because you're like, which one of these is going to fall next? And last time I camped there was a handful of years ago, but certainly after the fire, you could still smell the burnt. Can you still smell how burnt everything is?
and you can see it at the bottom of all the trees, and
Yeah.
literally.
Well, there's
10
definitely
years.
been fires there since. I mean, not that big, but there's definitely been fires at Bastrop State Park since.
Well, you can see trees where the bark is all good, but in between, like underneath, is black. So
That's weird.
it is weird. And all the loblollies,
The what?
the loblollies pines,
What is she saying?
She said La Palis.
loblollies. Look them
The
up.
Loblollies.
Lollipop Guild?
Yeah.
We come to sorry.
But they're pine trees, and so when there's underbrush, all the branches fall off, and they just have branches at the very top. Well, if you burn all the underbrush and the loblollies don't die,
Say it again.
What?
then you've got these like palm tree looking things, and it's very weird.
Not as weird as saying loblolly.
Aw,
Did I say it right?
you did.
I'm
Very
looking
good.
it up after this.
All right. Yeah, I know. I thought it was cool too.
Well, it sounds
but
like
I read
a
about it.
great time.
It was a nice getaway.
And the nice
it's
thing
right
is,
here.
it's what 30-minute drive from here.
It's right here.
Super easy, and I mean
Yeah.
that's the beauty of everybody. Go camp local.
Well, that's my new adventure. I'm going to start investigating all of the local places.
Okay, yeah. What's up next? Do you have an idea where you might go next?
Nope.
That isn't Cedar
Wherever
Breaks?
Richard books it.
Okay.
Hopefully not a tent site.
Well, I mean, obviously it doesn't matter to him. He can park.
That's right. He don't care.
All right. Well, let's get into the meat of this episode. We're going to talk to Ed, and it is Ed Bender, and he's the inventor, product developer, the mind behind the RV Whisper device.
That's right.
Whisper.
We're going to talk geeky stuff for campers. And don't worry if you're not a geeky person, hang in there because this is pretty cool. I was impressed.
So let's talk to Ed
Alrighty.
about the RV Whisper. Well, up next, we have a special guest from RV Whisper. In fact, he is the inventor, developer, pretty much everything, the mechanics behind the mechanics here. This is Ed Bender, and welcome to the podcast, Ed.
Thanks. Glad to be here, Clint.
I've had you on my radar just for maybe up to a year. Our parts department guy, Cody, he was telling me about how he could connect this device and that device all to this one thing. And it was the RV Whisper. And so he kind of put this bug in my ear, and I kind of kept tabs and kept on referencing back to the connected things. How did you get into connecting the devices and all the things, everything you can dream up that seems to be electronic? You've connected or found a way to connect and to send you messages. How and why did you get into connecting RV equipment?
Okay, so why did I get into it? Is probably the first is I retired from the software industry about 5 years ago, and the day I retired, I started on a 4-month road trip in my RV with my wife and my dog. So it was just great traveling and learning about what it is to be gone for a month at a time instead of just days or a week or two.
Okay, so you were an RVer before this, but once you decided to really turn this into long-term excursions, that's when you started really developing your ideas?
So actually, it was after the first 4-month trip. It happened, started in May. And so, during July and August, and guess what? It gets hot in July. And so leaving the dog behind in the RV occasionally on a hot July day in the afternoon, I would worry because if we lost shore power, which is very common, unfortunately, in RV parks, it could be catastrophic consequence. So
Absolutely.
I kept worrying and short our days and so on to keep track of it. So after we got back from that trip, After about 2 weeks, got bored and started looking for what to do in retirement to keep busy. And I looked around for RV monitoring systems to possibly just sell to RVers.
Okay.
And I couldn't find the perfect one, so I decided to start building one for myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is your dog, and what is your dog's name?
Belle.
Belle?
Yeah, and she did like a 55-pound black lab.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it has a baseball bat for a tail.
Yeah, she got a little crook on the end. My granddaughter, when she was a puppy, closed the bedroom door and broke the last 3 inches of her tail. Got this cute little, like a 5-degree bend on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Very easy to pick her out in a cloud with the tails are up.
She's got her antenna up. Very good, very good. So you're looking to kind of open like an online store for products that already existed, but you had trouble finding the products that already existed?
Yeah, actually, I was looking forward to doing RV. My career in technology was a pre-sales engineer. I enjoyed interacting with customers, explaining how the stuff works, and then also going to shows, exhibitions, trade shows, and so on. And so I was... Initial one was, hey, let's go to RV trade shows, RV rallies, RV shows, and resell products, because I just kind of enjoy selling technology to people.
Okay.
Explaining how it works. I couldn't find the perfect products.
What was out there? Did you find anything that fit even remotely?
Yeah. Absolutely. I bought several systems. Temp Stick is one of them. Very simple, very easy to get going. Several shortcomings from my point of view. And so let me also point out, my point of view is different than most people, I think, because the last company I worked for in the IT industry was a company that built and sold monitoring software that was used by and is used by IT professionals to monitor the internet and servers.
Okay.
A little company called SolarWinds, you've probably heard of lately.
Oh, yeah. We're in the Austin area. We run into SolarWinds pretty often.
Yeah, they're great company, great products. Left 5 years ago. I had nothing to do with the hack.
Okay.
So I knew something about monitoring, building monitoring software to be used by RVers that are not IT professionals. Is you have to simplify the user interface quite a bit. So that's what I attempted to do, basically.
Okay. So you said it's 4 or 5 years ago that you got into this?
Yeah, I think I retired. I think it was 5 years ago, May 2nd or something.
And when did you actually come out the gate with RV Whisper? When was the first product that went out?
Yeah, so it was I think a year and a half to get the first one ready to sell, and so we sold it in December to a hairdresser at the place where I got my hair cut, because we were chatting, and people in barbershops and hair salons talk a lot. I've learned over the years, and she, especially the hairdressers, and she had a dog, and I heard a horror story from a neighbor with her Class A RV out RVing, and so was looking for temperature monitoring, so she bought it from me, and so that was our first customer.
Very good. So the scope of everything that you produce up to this point that I can tell kind of falls in the IoT, or Internet of Things realm. And that is not a term I hear spoken of colloquially. It's not out there in the normal everyday speech. What is the Internet of Things?
To me, the Internet of Things is more things, physical things, being connected to the internet. So whether it's temperature sensors, light controls, light monitoring, whatever it is, it's just being able to see and control things over the internet. Okay.
So if I talk about kind of the genesis of your product, it was you traveling with your wife and with your dog, or dogs, one dog, yes. Okay. And the concern that got you kind of kicked off on all this was the well-being of your dog while you're away from the campground, from your trailer, your RV. And so is that turned into what products? What sensors, what monitoring did that initial concern turn into?
I mean, is that really where you started? Yes, trying to be sure the dog was okay?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that is
That's
such a
exactly-
common thing. I mean, I'm sorry to
No,
bump your
yeah.
question here, but oh my gosh, anybody who travels with an animal, and stats are that 80% of RVers travel with an animal.
I believe it.
That has to be the biggest concern, right? Right? Because
For people,
yeah, what do
for some
you
people.
do? Wow. Wow. So that
so-
was, you started out just to build that product?
Yes, that was the initial one. Although I had a longer term vision of integrating with more products
Right.
that were available for RVs. Basically, RV gadgets that come with Bluetooth phone apps were always a target of mine, and I still look for them today for new ones that come in the market.
Sure. So, do you find most of your customers find you through that avenue, the well-being of their pets and temperature control and power control monitoring, monitoring?
So initially, we only had two sensors, the battery voltage sensor and the temperature sensor. So our marketing was all geared towards pet safety, where the battery sensor could detect your battery voltage drop, which means you probably lost shore power. So that's your early warning. And then your temperature as it rises, that's additional data that you really care about.
So
As
that
we added
answers
more
your original question of where did it start?
Yes.
And it started monitoring those two things so you could check on your pet.
Yeah, battery voltage and temperature sensors.
So you're going to be the
up to
pet
10
safety guy.
Yes, that's the way we started. But when I did it, I allowed it to have up to 10 temperature sensors, up to 10 battery sensors. Just because I could do one or two, why not do 10, right?
Okay.
And so then after a while, as I added more sensors, propane and water leak and so on, I started getting customers that are what I call gadget guys and gadget gals. And they buy a lot of sensors because they can, and they get way more information about their RV than anyone actually needs, but it's a heck of a lot of fun.
Sure.
So if you've got a big one, you can have a temperature sensor in the front, another one in the back. Can you put them on the outside?
So you can, but the most common is indoor for pet safety typically. Refrigerator and freezer, because RV fridges are interesting.
Okay.
Driving down the road, right? I just had a customer bought a system. He has a seasonal site, and they lost power. His fridge stopped working. He was gone for 2 weeks. Came back and had to throw the fridge out. Couldn't ever clean up the smell. Yeah. So he bought the monitoring system so he can keep track of his fridge temperature when he's not there for a couple of weeks. So all kinds of stuff. So these gadget guys kept buying, and they just keep growing and growing.
So I've seen, I kind of glanced through a list of your sensors. I actually have your website up here. Let me find my mouse though. If I look under sensors, this is where I find obviously your battery sensors.
We have 3 different types now.
Okay. Why 3 different types of battery sensors?
Well, we start out with one that does voltage and temperature, and they're easy to work with and very supportive to get it integrated. That was the original one.
Okay.
And then the second one is this Thornwave is the company, and they have a product called the PowerMon, or excuse me, DC power meter. And that one is uses a shunt so it can calculate an accurate state of charge of batteries. Very useful for people that are living unplugged from electric, solar and or generator.
Okay.
To track if their other batteries getting charged every day and how deep are they discharging. So that integration really appeals to solar boondockers, generator boondockers, that type of thing.
Okay.
And then I got another one that's actually lower cost, just battery voltage only. We just came out with. So over the last 4 years, we now end up with 3 different battery sensors to choose from.
Sure.
So why did you come out with a new one that did less? I mean, did you have a need for people who just said, I just want the basics?
So our supplier shut down operations.
Ooh.
A couple people retired from the aerospace industry years, probably 10 years ahead of me. And they just decided to stop building them. So they could no longer get them. So I was able to transition to a lower cost, less precise but for most RV use, it's just fine. It's a voltage.
Right.
If they want seriously track their battery voltage, they need to get the Thornwave DC power meter. Does a much better job of that if they really care about
that Thornwave. Does that allows? I think I picked up on you saying this. Does that allow you to monitor not just the state of charge of the battery and the temperature, but also the state of charge coming into the battery from the converter? But yet, still another layer, how solar is also feeding your battery. Does it kind of give you information on all three of those things?
Well, it has one shunt.
Okay.
You can have multiple of them. I have a sailboat owner who's cruising the world who installed multiple of them because he wanted to monitor how much power he's getting, how many amps from his wind turbine, how many amps from his solar, and how many amps from his generator. Because he uses all three of them, and he sails the open ocean where it's life or death if you run out of water and stuff like that. So very serious.
Now the people that are using your system, they're all using a smart device to see this information, whether it be their Android-based phone or their Apple-based phone or a tablet or something like that. Is that correct?
They could also use a laptop computer or any computer, any browser on the internet has access to the system.
So like a Chromebook?
Does it have a browser on it?
Sure does.
Yes, it has. Yeah. So you just go to the browser, rvwhisper.com, click on the login to gateway, username, password, boom, you're in.
Okay, now if I'm using the system with an app and all that, it sounds like I need certain components in my RV, maybe my own internal Wi-Fi network. Is that the case?
That's true. The customer has to provide their own Wi-Fi, and if they are going to rely on campground Wi-Fi, I recommend they don't buy it or I return the product because some people can get various Wi-Fi router gadgets to work with campground Wi-Fi. And if they can do that, that's fine. But people that just don't want to buy their own Wi-Fi and think that they can get campground Wi-Fi to work reliably. It's a time sink, never-ending problems. And it's so unreliable. So for pet safety and all that, customers they're required to have their own Wi-Fi in their RV. If they can figure out how to reliably get that from a campground, there are reliable products that do that.
Right.
But generally, they also have a cellular data plan backing it up.
Right.
Can I interject here? This sounds like a whole lot of trouble to me. Maybe because I am like a lot of people out there. I plug in my trailer, everything works, it turns on, it turns off. You guys are, to say the least, a bit geekier than me.
Fair. I'll take that.
So now that you've geeked out for just a little while.
Oh, we can come back to it, right?
Yeah, you can come back to it, okay?
All right, go for it.
But all right, I just have a small trailer. I've got my little 10-pound dog. I just want to be sure it's running right. I'm going to have to get Wi-Fi. All right, right there, my head explodes. I'm going to have my own Wi-Fi, and then I'm going to have to get this product to monitor my trailer and stay connected and all of this. I mean, that sounds overwhelming to me.
Well, first off, no one is holding a gun to your head to monitor everything on your trailer.
Yeah, but I need Sparky here to not overheat.
That's
then
where you have
to do things.
Yeah.
I know. So, yeah, I get that. But I mean, my question is really, if I'm starting from ground zero, I have not retired as an engineer or a computer software guy, then how hard is it? I mean, how hard is it to get internet on your trailer? Do I just
that's
pay
another podcast. Remember when we did that one?
I know. So I can just pay for that through my phone, right?
That's one option. One of many.
Right. So actually, let me make a comment. You bring up a great point. So there is a segment of the market that only cares about the temperature sensor for their pet. And there are 100 solutions, for RVs, 1,000 if you include a home monitoring. And so if you just want that temperature monitor, and if you don't already have Wi-Fi in your RV, so let me ask you a question. Do you have Wi-Fi in your house?
Yes.
Okay.
Check
so
one.
to get Wi-Fi in an RV, the simplest thing is you get what's called the Verizon Jetpack or AT&T Jetpack. It's a little device smaller than a cell phone. And You just pay the $20 or whatever. It's another device in your data plan. And all it does, it talks to the cell towers and it creates a Wi-Fi network in your RV, just like your home.
So it's not hard. It's just money, right?
Yes.
You just add it to your cell phone plan.
That's right. So if you have, a significant amount of long-term RVers already have solved that Wi-Fi problem.
Right.
With fancier solutions than the simple Verizon Jetpack approach.
Right.
That is the simplest by far to get started. It has its, long term, not geeky enough in the long term, but
sure,
it's just fine.
Well, I know we had a very long podcast on this, and I know that there's ways to do this, but if we're talking about, first of all, you need Wi-Fi, I thought I would just get that off the table because every time it comes around, I'm like, okay, is there something new I don't know about?
There is. So let me share an story. So at the Quartzsite RV show about a year and a half ago, it was my first time there.
Yeah.
And I learned it's like an 8-day show, really. It was great. The first 2 or 3 days, people would ask what they need, and I would say Wi-Fi in their RV. And before I could explain that meant they just had to go to Verizon and pay for this device, right? They were like running away from the booth, screaming, I don't have Wi-Fi. I mean, it happened over and over and over. They just couldn't run away fast enough. And these people in the desert, right, living off solar power for months on end.
Right.
And so I learned this, to not say you need Wi-Fi. And I said, you just need cellular access. I'm like, oh, okay. And then with the cellular access, you go to Verizon and you pay them for this. And that makes Wi-Fi in your RV for up to 10 devices. And then they stop screaming and running away.
Better. Yes, I feel better already. Okay, so you pay a little extra on your cell phone bill, slap a little device inside your trailer, and that's for the ungeeky like me. And then you buy your basic product, and then Sparky doesn't overheat.
Well, you're monitoring.
You monitor it so that you'll know when to go back to your trailer. Right. When to worry.
It reduces your stress, gives you information, lets you keep up to date. Correct.
Okay. Do we need to talk about more geeky stuff, or can I talk about a few more practical things?
You know what? I would love for you to jump into your practical things, because I'll just keep on thinking my geeky stuff, and I'll bring those in on the tail end.
Well, I can't help you with that, but all right. So I pay my $20 a month, and of course, by now it's probably $40 a month by the time this podcast comes out next week, because everything's getting more expensive. But I've got that done. What's the basic system cost from you to monitor those things that will let me know when to worry about Sparky?
Starts at $150, maybe $160. Prices have to go up in the next week or so.
Yeah,
supplier costs,
something like that.
What does that get you?
And that's a one time. I buy the stuff. I gotcha. Right.
You buy it one time, and then that includes the first year of RV Whisper support and cloud services to get access over the internet. For year 2, it's $42 per year after that for RV Whisper to provide the email and text message gateway, as well as the secure access over the internet. So the system will work forever in your RV, but for a pet safety point of view, you need also the internet connectivity.
Yes.
Okay, so $42. What'd you say it was?
A year.
$42 a year
after this first year.
That's like $4 a month.
Seems like.
I think that seems reasonable for Sparky. He's worth that. Okay, so
some people absolutely will not pay for subscriptions and have not bought because of that, and that's their choice. Yeah.
Well, then they wouldn't also pay the money for the Wi-Fi. So I mean, they're double dumped.
So most RV, not most, I would say a lot of RV, long-term RVers already have Wi-Fi because they have computers or video. They already have Wi-Fi in RV, just like home. So it's just one more device using a tiny bit of data. So RV Whisper uses very little data. So if they already have Wi-Fi, it's simple. If they don't have Wi-Fi, I can't tell them they need Wi-Fi. I got to tell them you need cellular access, and then you can get Wi-Fi.
Right.
Okay, so what do you get for that basic system you just described?
You get the RV Whisper monitor station, a small computer. It's about 1 by 1 by 3 inches.
Okay.
It just powers off of a USB power cable. So you plug it into your RV, and most RVs in the last few years come with USB power ports that are wired to your 12-volt system. Yep. So those are wonderful, clean power for them. So that's the computer, the base station. And then it comes with a single temperature sensor for actually there's a 0 sensor system, but the 1 sensor system has 1 temperature sensor, and it's a small puck about 1 inch in diameter that has the temperature sensor. A coin cell battery lasts about 12 to 14 months. And the installation is Velcro, double-sided Velcro that comes with them. So you basically figure out where you want to put them, and you peel and stick the Velcro and stick it, and that's the installation. And then the software, you go ahead and connect to your Wi-Fi and then add sensors. And so hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, so that doesn't tell me the battery charge. It simply tells me the temperature.
Well, we have 12 different sensors. So you can add sensors as you see need. So if you want battery monitoring, if you need a leaky faucet, if you want to know if there's a leak underneath your sink, he has a water detection sensor. So he has lots of sensors.
You just buy another sensor.
If you want, up to 10 temperature sensors, the battery voltage sensor. So if you don't have solar at all on your RV, then a battery sensor is a low-cost way to get alerted if you lose shore power.
Got it.
So
Because if you, all right, I'm with you now. I wasn't tracking.
Right? So that's a good way. But if you have solar, that's not a reliable way. And then if you happen to own the Power Watchdog brand of surge protector, then guess what? That's already integrated with RV Whisper. So if you have it, you just add it together and they just work. And so that monitors your shore power voltage. Power Watchdog is the only brand that has a phone app in the market for surge protectors.
They are super cool too.
Yeah, we partnered with them a few years ago to have RV Whisper talk to their device just like the phone app does. And so now if you lose shore power, RV Whisper within a few minutes can send you email and text messages. You lost shore power. So now you start freaking out about your dog, right? And so you log into RV Whisper because you're 50 miles away and you check in the temperature and it says, okay, here's a timestamp. 3 minutes ago, it was 74 degrees inside, right? And then you look in more detail, 3-hour graph, and you see that in the last 5 minutes, it hasn't even started rising yet. We lost power, but so the RV Whisper system. Yeah. So the thing with RV Whisper that really drove me to build this was I wanted to be able to check from any time and know what the temperature is, and I want to know when that temperature was read. Some of these systems that I got were like, it says, okay, the temperature is 74 degrees. Like, well, is that yesterday's temperature?
Right.
10 minutes ago? And some of them don't tell you. Right. It's the last one we know about.
There's no log. Whisper, there's no history.
Some do, some don't, I guess. But every time you look at an RV Whisper data point, the timestamp of when that data was logged is displayed with it. So there is no question about when that data, if you're looking at last week's data, you look at the timestamp, it's not today, hit the refresh button, and hopefully you get newer data. But that way, when I'm on my phone and I'm worried about my dog, I click, refresh the page, I look at the temperature, and I look at the timestamp, I look at my watch, stop worrying.
Okay, now
20 minutes later, I worry, I check again.
Yeah.
And if the temperature's not going up, that's because I don't trust the internet to be up. Email and text messages may not work. So I just check every 20 minutes when it's a high risk period. And that's how I operate. And so that's why I built the system this way. I couldn't find anything else that really told me with that much detail when the reading was taken.
So you mentioned that you don't really trust a cell phone to be up 100% of the time, which I don't either, especially some of the cool places that we all like to go and to camp. So you have kind of a cascading fallback. If cellular data goes down for a certain amount of time, a tower is kind of taken down for a second or a little bit, you may not get immediate updates, but you can tell that tower's down. You can go out to where your RV is and you can still check a backlog. I think locally within your RV, you can still connect.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So one of the, so this goes back to the initial design requirements. When I designed the architecture years ago was, I wanted the system to work 100% functionally in an RV without any internet access. And so, of course, everything functional except you can't get internet access because it doesn't exist, right? So you can't get email, you can't get text, you can't check out the internet. So I designed it. The design is all the data is stored in the RV on the RV Whisper monitor station, the little gadget you get. It's all there. The applications there, everything is there. And when you're in or near the RV, you can connect your phone directly to it because it has its own Wi-Fi setup network that allows you to actually connect it when you're local. And if you happen to have internet access, also, if your RV happens to have internet access at that time, then you can also get to it over the internet. But it's the exact same thing. It's just, are you looking at it locally or looking at it remotely? And then, of course, you have the data, the historical data. So this happened to me at Joshua National Park. The RV was in range of cellular, but it turned out somewhere in Joshua National Park, there are places my cell phone has no signal, right? So we drive to a higher spot. I could get a signal and check and say, okay, 3 minutes ago, the dog's still fine. Look at the last 3 hours of history with a graph of the temperature. Yeah, it's been going up slowly, but it looks like it's going to be fine.
Okay. So it's peace of mind.
That's what it is for me. And I know what I wanted for peace of mind years ago. And I designed the system around that peace of mind for RVers, knowing after 4 months of being in an RV full time, 4 months of full time, I learned a few things that I just wouldn't have learned without doing that.
Okay. Now you've expanded this well beyond just temperature sensors and battery monitors and power input and usage and all that. We have the Mopica propane devices here. Those connect, so you can always keep tabs on where your propane is at. It looks to me like you also are able to tell tire pressure if you connect the right devices.
Yeah, we formed a technical partnership with the Pressure Pro brand of tire pressure monitors. They have a Bluetooth phone app for their pressure monitoring system. And so they shared the technology with us, and we developed that integration. So the data is logged, and you can see the historical data in RV Whisper. And then while doing real-time travel, we recommend you use the phone app that comes with the Pressure Pro manufacturer, because that is designed for real-time monitoring and safety. RV Whisper is more historical data. So for example, one problem I solved on my fifth wheel was I had one tire with a slow leak. And by having it just parked for 3 weeks and then graphing up the data over 3 weeks, it's obvious that tire was slowly losing pressure. So I brought it in, they worked on it, they replaced the valve stem, and now it leaks much, much slower. It still leaks, but it leaks much, much slower. It takes 3 months to get,
But you can monitor it, so all good, right?
I know. Yeah, before I start driving, as opposed to when I start driving, oh crap, we're low. Tire pressure's low. So I know ahead of time what the pressure is, right?
Where do you feel like your products stand in the grand scheme of smart RVs?
So as far as I can tell, we're really the only aftermarket monitoring product for RVs, unless you just want temperature monitoring.
Okay.
Right. There are other simpler things that, if you don't have Wi-Fi, you can pay your $20 a month or $40 a month to a device because it has the cellular data plan built into it. So you can have just a temperature sensor, or for the same monthly fee you can get. So going forward, more sensors. We're talking with another RV Bluetooth phone app gadget right now. Don't know if they're going to want to do it or not. If they do, it should be pretty straightforward to add it. So add more gadgets. We're working on our Tank Whisper, which is a tank monitoring device that connects to the most common tank monitor system that gives the wrong answers.
Right.
And so we're working on that. If your RV has the most common, most travel trailers have this KIB monitor panel, empty 1/3, 2/3 full.
Right.
And so if you have that panel, then the RV Whisper or the Tank Whisper board that's in field test right now connects to the back of that device. So you actually take the panel off, and it slides on as a daughter board to the existing KIB monitor panel. And the Tank Whisper device then is talking directly to the tank sensors and talking to it in a more elegant fashion.
Okay.
It all is Greek to me. I don't know what language they speak, but I don't get this.
The patent was awarded about a year ago on the process and the technique, and so we're just finalizing it now. So it's going to give two benefits. One is monitoring the history of your tanks in RV Whisper, so you can see, last time we had a 3-day weekend, how fast did the tanks fill up, so we can kind of budget for it at your state park camping. And then, but also it corrects the most common problem, which is I just dumped my black tank and it still says it's 2/3 full, but it's empty. And it says it's full when you use it for one day. And it really takes 2 weeks to fill it up. So Tank Whisperer knows how to correct that.
Really? Cool.
You attach something behind the monitor you're already looking at.
Correct.
And it makes the monitor you're already looking at smarter.
Yes, it makes the monitor, the simple little empty 1/3, 2/3 full buttons, it makes those more accurate, especially for the gray and black tanks. The fresh tank is pretty much always right. There's a caveat. The sensors have to be installed and wired correctly, assuming they're wired and installed correctly.
Assume they ever worked, right?
Yeah, if they ever worked, like before you used the black tank the first time, that it worked one time. Then it corrects it, and so it fixes the display on the existing monitor panel with simple push buttons. But it also displays the correct data, and if it's integrated with RV Whisper, then it also stores the historical data as yet another sensor to RV Whisper.
Well, here's the question I have. There's only a couple of little lights that pop up on those monitors. So the first one, I think, usually says 1/3 full. Well,
yes, empty, 1/3, 2/3 full. Right.
Yes. But if it is just under 1/3 full, like this much, a teeny tiny bit under 1/3 full.
You got this. Go for it. Run with it.
Then it shows empty. And it's not even close to empty. And when it's this much away from being full, when it's like 2 tablespoons away from being full, it doesn't show full. But I am so close to being full. So is your monitor system better? Does it tell me more than just 1/3, 2/3 or full? Or am I looking at the exact same thing? It's just more accurate.
It does not change the precision, which is what your question is. So empty 1/3, 2/3 full is all it does. It can't do any more than that based on physics. It just can't, because that's where the sensors are. But the accuracy is better for the gray and especially the black tanks. So 1/3 really, empty really means less than 1/3.
Right.
Right. And 2/3 really means it's somewhere between 2/3 and full sensor.
Right.
And when it's full, it just says it's at the full sensor or above, but the full sensor is not installed at the very top. There's actually a room above it also. So, there's lots of...
Okay, I appreciate it, but that doesn't make me feel any better.
However, he does have an alliance with the company. I think it's Garnet that you have an alliance with. Yes. And so they actually have a sensor that you can slap on the side of your tank, and it is significantly
much
more accurate. Yes.
And so do I have to then crawl under to look at it, or does it go Bluetooth?
It connects to his device.
Oh, okay. So there is a solution here. I was about to tell you to get on the stick and fix this.
Let's be clear. Yeah. So Garnet is a manufacturer of a great product called Sea Level.
Okay.
And they've been in the industry for a while. The Sea Level product is the only RV tank monitoring product that I've heard good things about in my presentations about Tank Whisper technology at RV rallies and so on. And so the Sea Level will give you like 6 or 8% increments. It's like 16 or 10 or different measurement levels. So it's much more accurate and precise. So it gives you the kind of breakdowns that you want. The downside is if it's not installed in your RV, you need to install the sensors on the tank walls and wire it in to get it to work. So if it's aftermarket, it may or may not be difficult. Depends on the RV,
right?
If it's enclosed underbelly and so on. But once you get if you have the Garnet Sea Level system installed, they came out a few years ago with a Bluetooth display panel of the Sea Level. And so if you happen to have that Bluetooth display panel from Garnet in your RV, then in RV Whisper, you just say add Sea Level, and it adds that. It's just another Bluetooth gadget. So if you happen to have that whole Garnet Sea Level thing installed in your RV, you get the great answers in your RV. You push the button and you see it. But RV Whisper can talk to it also because it's Bluetooth, has a phone app. Then RV Whisper, you can see it over the internet, and you get alerts and logging and history and all that.
All that stuff. Oh, cool. That's what I want. Now, are manufacturers putting that in trailers now?
Yeah, the Sea Level product is OEM and some of the higher end RVs, trailers, and so on.
Us common folk don't have them.
But we can.
I see it as an upgrade option on some brands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean it's more expensive.
And they just call it sea level.
Complicated.
Sea level system.
Yeah, sea level is the product. Yeah, it's the brand of the product.
Okay, well, I want that because
put that's Christmas list.
That's the two things I hear the most complaints about. I can't really tell. I worry. Worry word just keeps coming up. I worry about how much is in my tank, especially my black tank. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many people we talk about, and recently a lot, who don't use their bathrooms.
Right.
Because it is worrisome for one reason or another. And then on top of that, the other thing they worry about is Sparky. So those are the two biggest problems I hear people worry about.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. And we have a lot of comedic movies out there that
that make fun of what people worry about.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Do you see right now, and I absolutely love the monitoring component of what you do. Do you think you'll step into the control atmosphere arena at some point?
Great question. So control, yeah, I think we will. I don't have any plans to do it now, but there are a couple of the gadgets we have that you can turn on a relay with the Thornwave, the fancy battery monitor.
Sure.
The Power Watchdog, there is a reset if it's over current that we don't do that. But not yet. Okay. And we're not working on it right now. There's not been enough customer demand for it. And RV products, well, we can do it, but we're not working on it yet, on anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Control. But at least inevitable.
I will tell you that the only thing that I request is that you keep it user friendly, because I do not want to learn anything difficult. I just want to know all the things that I need to know. So if I could put this system together and I could manage it on my phone, I would be a happy camper.
Yeah. And all these things that we're talking about are either plug and play, or it's not that big a deal to find a service center that can, I mean, if you want someone to screw your AT&T or Verizon, Wi-Fi device to your wall, a service center can do that if you want someone to blame.
Well, I can Velcro a temperature monitor to the wall. Uh-huh. I could handle that part. Uh-huh. I just don't want 18 steps to get into it, set it up, crawl under, put this here, look at that, check that, go here. If it's super easy interface, and when I looked at this, it looked like something I could easily do, that would be so super cool. So one more question that I have. What are all the things that people monitor? Is there anything we haven't talked about that people do with your gadget that we haven't talked about? We've talked about tanks. We've talked about batteries, air conditioner. I mean, when I think about a smart system, I think about turning on the TV, turning the lights on. I don't know.
And that's the control piece, not the monitoring piece.
Okay.
Right. So RV Whisperer is only monitoring right now. It reads data, then shows you, and then sends alerts based on that. So, we kind of cover. We have door sensors, just door open, close sensors.
Oh, super cool!
Sure.
Safety.
Motion sensors.
Yeah, up to 10 of those. Yeah, I have some customers, like 7 or 8 of them. I think they did it in every storage bay under Class A. So when you open the door, they would know when the door is closed. And motion sensor. So just the ceiling mounted infrared, when you walk under it, blinks, detects motion. So people sometimes get those, put them just in the hallway right in front of the door, basically. People come in and out. Water leak sensor, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I do have another question. It's so many of these alliances that you have, their apps actually work on Android only. Does your system make it to where the Apple users can get full access to those? Like, I think,
good question.
I think Mopica does Android and Apple, but I think the Watchdog might be Android only.
No, Watchdog does both. Absolutely.
Oh, does? Okay. If there is something that you connect with that would be Android only, if the Apple user is able to connect to your app, would they be able to get that Android only data kind of fed to them?
Absolutely, because it's really if you're using an Android or an iPhone or a computer, all of them are just running a browser.
There it is.
And looking at the data in a browser. The RV Whisper iPhone app and the RV Whisper Android phone apps are really just wrappers to browsers that do the login for you. But they're really, it's literally running in a browser. So it makes it accessible to anybody with any computer on the internet that has the right password.
Right. That actually adds access to devices, depending on who they developed it for, what platform they developed it for. That adds accessibility to Android or Apple, depending on the device. I like it. Very cool.
Correct. That was one of the initial design decisions, is we didn't want to have to build a Android app and an iPhone app. They're very different development environments. Mm-hmm. So from the beginning, one of the design decisions was to build what's called a responsive web app. Responsive just means it's the same web application, but it looks different on your phone with a small screen than a giant monitor. It actually resizes stuff to make it so that the RV Whisper system, if you log into an RV Whisper system and look at the data on your big screen, mm-hmm. It looks different. You look on your phone, things get squished together, but you don't notice it. It just works. And so it's a responsive web app. If you build it in that fashion, it works on both mobile devices and larger devices at the same time. And that's what the RV Whisper app does.
Well, you certainly got me at you don't notice it, but it works, because that's what I'm all about. You don't notice it, but it works.
Yeah, it just looks right on the phone, as opposed to some websites you go to on your phone. It's like, wait, but I can't quite see that. It's the tiny little font, right?
Oh, yeah, because it's all squished. It's minuscule.
Yeah. That is not a responsive web app. It does not respond to the size of the screen it's being displayed on.
Got it.
Now, may I depart pretty hard departure here?
Can I stop you, Clint? Can I slow you down?
You can. You're my boss.
No, I doubt that. I doubt I can stop you.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Here's my next question. Every manufacturer of RVs has been facing a heck of a time getting components and parts, building products, getting products out. Dealerships are sold out and all that. You, as an aftermarket parts developer and producer, what has the past year been like for you in your segment with your style of product?
We're doubling our revenue again.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any trouble getting parts that you need to make these?
Yeah. Yes. In the last year, 6 or 8 months. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it circuit boards?
Lead times have gone up. Costs have gone up.
Mm-hmm.
Delivery time has gone up. It's all gone up. And I mentioned earlier, we have to raise our prices of some of our products because our costs have gone up significantly.
Sure.
For something.
Sure.
Hopefully they come down again, but they may not. I don't know.
Right. But you have seen that with the influx in new RVers or new RV ownership, that people have been finding your products as a solution, and therefore, like you said, your stature in this market has gone up.
I believe so. I think a lot of our growth is due to new RVers, and that's just obvious from the questions they ask.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously never used an RV before. They just come out and tell me it's my new RV, and how does the battery work, and how does the battery run? No, the battery doesn't do that. It definitely is a part of it. A big part of our growth is, frankly, gadget people that just buy 15 or 20 sensors because they can. They just love gadgets. And,
sure.
And I think a lot of them are people that are still working full time, and they're in a professional job, and they're on a computer all day. And they can, on their break, they can log in on their computer in their browser and look at their RV Whisper, and see the temperature and see all this. So it's kind of like they're using their RV, even though it's parked next to their house or a seasonal site or in storage. It just connects them to their RV a bit. Plus, if you have your refrigerator in a seasonal site, it's nice to know it's staying cold the whole time.
Right.
That's right.
Your food.
Okay.
That's right. Well, it's much more practical than I expected. So hats off to you.
I think we need to go out and install one on your trailer right now.
Okay. All right. Let's see if I can manage that, right?
Sure. I'll video it. I'll send Ed the video. It'd be fun.
I don't know. Makes me a little nervous.
So Well,
so let me ask you first, though. Do you already have Wi-Fi in your RV?
All I need is cell service.
that's right.
Yes, you do. There you
That's
go.
yes. Because no, I don't. But I will soon. Now that somehow it all was laid out very easily for me. I know we
Yes.
talk about things all the time. I'm the smart one on some things, but when it comes to this, it is not my forte. You guys know that.
No, you are definitely in the category of I want it to be plug and play, and I want it to just work.
I have other things I want to do besides learn about geeky stuff. So, but I am thinking that I can buy a box and plug it in and just pay a little bit every month to have Wi-Fi in my trailer. If that's all it takes, I'm there. That's almost as easy as Amazon.
Yeah. All right, so where do people who, if they hear this and they're like, I actually want to do a deeper dive, or I want to see something in action or something like that, how do people find that kind of information about the RV Whisper?
The best place is go to rvwhisper.com and look at the web pages. And there are links to, we have a videos section now. So there are a handful of YouTubers that have done a bunch of RV Whisper videos, initial installs, adding sensors. I got some. So there's, if you read just rvwhisper.com website, it answers most of the people's questions. And then look at the videos as a shorter version of getting some of the information. It's probably the best way to do it.
Okay. Well, this has been good. I may have had ulterior motives. I was kind of hoping to interview, and so I could say, hey, PJ, you really kind of need these things on your trailer. I think you and I may have accomplished that to some degree.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think it sounds very cool.
It's just one giant sales pitch.
Yeah, this is all for my
Surprise!
benefit. It's all for my benefit. Okay, I'll take it. Hopefully somebody listening feels like it's for their benefit too. Because stuff like this that's more technical when we talk about it, I like the fact that there are products out there like this. This is a monitoring system. I do not need to spend my life monitoring. I'm not that guy. But when I want to know how it's doing, what an easy way to do it. And that makes it practical for people like me.
Yeah.
So very cool. I'm sold.
Great.
I'll let y'all know how it works out if it really is that easy.
Very good.
Yeah. So now the next question is, do you let her just get a Verizon Jetpack, or are you going to go high end with Wi-Fi Ranger, WineGuard Connect, one of the better RV options? It's the same monthly data plans, but there are better RV gadgets. But
Well, look for that email from me so I get your suggestions.
Well, I'm going to make Clint research it. See, that is the benefit that I have. I don't have to know anything. I want to do XYZ, Clint. Will this do what I need? And then he says yes or no. And then I have somebody to blame. It's perfect.
It's working out so far.
Yeah. We'll let you know. We'll keep you updated.
excellent.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with us today, answering our questions, giving us some stories and all that to help us to, anecdotally better understand what you do. It looks like something beyond just interesting, but fantastically useful. So thanks for spending the time developing it and making it available.
Great. Thanks. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
And let us know when new things happen.
Yep. Keep us informed.
Will do.
Well, that was good information, and I think it was pretty neat that this is the direction that RV monitoring and future smart RVs are going to go.
It's 2021. Let's just have one device, monitor everything, and let's have it work.
Yeah, if it's easy to monitor your stuff, you still have more time to do the things like
Camping things.
Not open up your battery compartment or go push a button on the side of your convenience panel or something like that. You just pull out your phone, look, and go on with the next adventure.
I just want Sparky to be safe, and I want my toilet to flush.
Sparky.
Right? Is
That's
that too
right.
much to ask?
Yeah. Should we actually deal with the fact that you don't have a Sparky and get you a Sparky?
I want a Sparky.
Okay.
But I want everyone's Sparky to be safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That's not weird.
Please don't name your dog Sparky.
Oh, well.
Well, in wrapping up, we'd like to redirect your attention to rvsmalltalk.com if you want to check out previous episodes that we have recorded and shared out there, or show notes, or join us on Facebook and the RV Small Talk community group. Send us questions to questions@rvsmalltalk.com. And in light of that, welcome everyone back to the team. I'm leaving. I'm not here on Friday. You're on your own for our Friday Live.
Will be fine.
That'll be fun.
So everyone look for that on Facebook.
So nothing geeky on Friday noon, huh?
That's up to y'all. I ain't here.
I'm just going to dress up like Clint and just say geeky things.
I will watch. Very
All right.
good.
All right. See you there.
Bye.
Bye.